Just a very, very quick live stream, and it's a response to what Rupert Lowe put out, I think 40 minutes ago. And I personally think this is massive. I think this is probably one of the biggest things that's happened this year in terms of what's happening politically. So do me a favor, guys, like and share this, share it so we can get it on as many platforms as we possibly can. I'll come back to things a couple of times. I'm not going to stay on very long because I've got a lot of other stuff to do, but this is in response to this letter. I'm going to read the letter. I'm going to read the whole tweet and I'm going to read the letter. So just bear with me, guys. I'll get that full screen so you can see it on the screen fully. Okay, so and let me just go to X and make sure that we can all see exactly what's going on here. Okay, good stuff. So everyone can see that. Okay, so this is what Rupert Lowe put out 45 minutes ago now. The Metropolitan Police have today confirmed that they are dropping their investigation into the false allegations that I made threats against the Reform chairman. Then he says full statement, and you've got a very, well, damning letter. I think that's the only way it can be described. I'm going to zoom in here. See if I can get it a little bit bigger on the screen so I can read it properly. Okay, and again, I apologize. I've got my glasses on, but the print is still very, very small, and I don't think there's any way I can really make it any bigger. But let's see how we go on. Okay, so this is what Rupert Lowe put, and then I'll make a few comments on it afterwards. This was not normal political infighting. It was a sinister attempt to weaponize the criminal justice system against me, putting not just my political future, but my liberty at risk. It's very, very important. I think people have got to realize that threats, I mean, I think, again, I don't want to get myself in hot water, but I think the allegation was certainly a threat of some sort of violence. Maybe it's even a threat to kill. I'm not sure, but it was certainly some sort of threat of violence. Again, I'm not involved in the legal process, so I'm not going to comment on that. But that's the allegation that was made, that he'd physically threatened Zia Useless, and that would indeed put Rupert Lowe's liberty at risk, especially the way things are at the minute. I mean, that the politicized police would certainly want to go after him if they could, and the fact that they haven't, well, that tells a story in itself. Anyway. And then he goes on, all because I dared to raise constructive criticisms of Nigel Farage, stood firm on deporting illegal migrants, and pushed for reform to be run democratically, not as a vehicle to stoke or stroke one man's ego. And again, that shows how passionately Rupert Lowe feels about this. Now, I don't think it was probably necessary to put that into the letter, because I think it looks like a bit of sour grapes. But listen, this guy has just been totally thrown under the bus by the party that he gave his time. Rupert Lowe doesn't have to do anything for this country. He could go and, live in the Bahamas or wherever. He's a very, very well-off, successful businessman. But no, he stood and he's standing with his people and he's standing for his country because he loves his country. And how was he treated by the leadership of Reform? Disgustingly. Anyway, how did Reform respond? With a brutal smear campaign for the sin of asking legitimate questions about the party's direction, policies, and leadership. I was vilified and targeted. And that's all true. I think, and this is the thing, this is what I've been saying for a long time about the leadership reform. I don't have anything personally against Nigel Farage. I think he's a very good communicator. I've said that on countless occasions, but I think he's massive questions to ask about what happened with UKIP, what happened with the Brexit party, why did he give up all those votes to the Tory party in 2020 or whenever it was? And of course there are reasons. He would come out with all the reasons that he did it, but the reality, it seems to be a behavior that's repeated. He's continually pushing people aside, smearing people, attacking people. Look at Tommy, the way he spoke about Tommy and the way he's treated Tommy Robinson. Anyway, then Rupert Lowe goes on, he says, I'm ashamed to have shared a parliamentary platform with them. Now, who's he talking about there? Is he talking about Farage, the other MPs, Lee, whatever his name is, Lee Anderson? We don't know, because a lot of them really got stuck into him and had, attacked him. I'm ashamed to have trusted them, ashamed to have called them friends. Farage is no leader. He is a coward and a viper. I feel deeply embarrassed that I ever thought that he was the man to lead. Now, that's a very stark admission. And again, anybody that's been about politics or about these movements, you very soon realize that a lot of friendships are extremely fickle. And the circle of trust as time goes on and you're involved in politics and the political movement and all the stuff that we do, the circle of trust gets smaller and smaller, and you get more and more cynical. You start off very, very wide-eyed, trusting everybody, and then you realize that there's very few people you can trust anyway. It's my view that the police process was weaponized to silence a party colleague who raised reasonable concerns. If Farage were ever to control the vast power of the British state, I believe he would not hesitate to do to his adversaries what they have tried to do to me. Now that is very telling, and that's something that people that are going to vote for reform and going to try and put Farage into Downing Street should really seriously think about, because Farage's enemies will be just as much the people on the right, just as much the people in this movement, as they will be people on the left and people in the Uni Party. That's pretty much what Rupert's saying there. He goes on, with real power, I fear he would wield that immense responsibility to crush dissent, as he has done time and time again over the years. And we've seen that. We've seen that. Even with the ridiculous barring of people from joining his party that had been in other parties. You had maybe someone that joined the BNP when they were 19 or 20. They were never, and they were probably a political activist. They probably didn't realize what they were getting into. And they were never allowed to join UKIP when he was in charge of it, never allowed to join any of the subsequent parties like Brexit Party or the Reform Party. Rupert goes on. Smearing my innocent staff in a pathetic attempt to attack me was disgusting, alongside briefings to journalists from senior reform figures suggesting I had dementia, the lowest, vilest tactics I've seen in my 67 years. They are not fit to lead. They're not fit to be MPs. And then he goes on. Please listen when I say this. For the good of our country, Nigel Farage must never be Prime Minister. To the millions of decent supporters, you must do what you believe is right. I personally could not remain in an organisation led by such men. They do not deserve your support, your time, your energy, your money, or your vote. That's damning. That is absolutely damning. I urge you to do what you think is right. When the time soon comes, we will work together to advance a political movement that is credible, professional, decent, democratic, and honest. There will very soon be an alternative to the rotten leadership of reform. And to those of you who've supported me during this incredibly difficult period, thank you. I've been touched by your messages of kindness. Without your support, without my social media platforms, I'd have been buried by their smears. I truly mean it. Thank you. You'll be hearing a lot more from me very soon, Rupert. So that, I honestly think that we're in a situation now. Sorry about that, guys. We're in a situation now where Zia Useless has to go. Apart from anything else, Zia Useless has to resign. And I don't think he's got any option other than to fall on his sword. I think Farage is going to be in a very difficult position. But the problem is that Farage and Yusuf are in total control, so they'll go on the smear campaign, they'll be on the talk shows, and this is why I'm doing this live stream, and we've got 191 people watching this. Please share the stream, get it out there, because there is going to be a counterattack from these people who are running the Reform Party. And obviously, as you all know, I'm heavily involved in UKIP. I'm on the NEC of UKIP. I support UKIP completely, but this isn't bad blood against reform, because what I've said, and I've said it to people in UKIP, I've said it everywhere that I talk. What we need to find is some way of bringing all these political streams together. The right wing of the Conservative Party, if they can be trusted. I think there are some people in there that can be trusted. The right wing of the Conservative Party, a rump of what's ever left of reform by the time all the fallout from this finishes. And I believe that this will do massive damage to reform. UKIP, Ben Habib, Rupert Lowe, the SDP. Now, to me, they're the sensible people in the room. They're the grown-ups in the room. I hate using that phrase, but it's true. They're the parties that I believe have the right civic nationalist policies that I can get behind. There's a lot of, good Christian people involved in these parties, so there's a good moral background. So the question is, what happens next? So again, I've been very disengaged from a lot of this because I've had a lot of personal issues I've been dealing with. But what's happening with Ben? What's happening with Rupert? Obviously, we know that that Ben has, I think, become. He's not leader. I think he's basically become director of the Integrity Party. He's got the Great British Pack. But as well as this, guys, we've also got the Pledge. And again, the Pledge has been, a lot of people have been attacking the Pledge. Well, not a lot, a few people, a few vocal people have been attacking the Pledge, and there's been a lot of whispering in the background, people smearing it. And I've just got to ask a question. Why? Because the Pledge is actually a mechanism to bring all these streams together. And we've got tens of thousands of people signed up to the Pledge already. And again, because all of us that are organizing have been so busy, we haven't had time to promote the Pledge as we'd like to. So that's really with no promotion, funding the whole thing ourselves. And it's not cheap to get the Pledge to the position it's in, and it's not without a lot of sweat and labor and launch parties and all that sort of stuff. You know, we've really, I think we've done an incredible thing with the Pledge. But again, it is the mechanism to bring everybody together. And I would just suggest everybody, if you can, get onto the pledge.org.uk, read it. If you like what it says, sign it. And the whole point of the Pledge is to have little voter blocks up and down the country that aren't controlled by a political party, that sit under this ideology that is based on civic nationalism, our Christian heritage, our Christian culture. You don't need to be a Christian to sign it, but it's there for the good of the people. And we call it the People's Pledge. It doesn't belong to me. It belongs to the people. That's what it's about. It's about being able to call our politicians to account. Thanks for that, Jack. Yes, sign the Pledge. So there's going to be a lot going on, I think, in the next few days and weeks and months. That's going to be very, very interesting. I think this could finish with the Reform Party. I think, yes, they may limp along until the general election, but I think if we'll put it this way, if they just split the right wing vote, and it's even more fractured than it is now, which is what it's looking like, and they're pretending to be right wing, but really they're more. I mean, it's amazing the way that Farage, says about his admiration for the Liberal Democrats. So to me, we need to be working very, very hard in the background on an alternative. And a party needs to be raised up, or a movement that needs to be raised up, that includes everybody that goes to the Unite the Kingdom rallies, that includes all the evangelical Christian people in London, all the black and white churches that are absolutely thriving, that sits on those sort of moral values, that includes the football lads, that includes everybody, the veterans, everybody that thinks like we think. That's what we need to build the movement around. And the problem is the current system or the Reform Party does not do that. It really doesn't. Unfortunately, it's got great PR stuff going on. It's got these great conferences. It does, and there's great showmanship. But as an old one of my former bosses used to say about a competitor, it's all fur coat and no knickers. There's a lot of razzmatazz and a lot of bling, but there's very little substance underneath that. It's kind of the Arthur Daly of politics, if you like. So that's an interesting. Again, in the comments, guys, let me know what your thoughts are on this, and we'll just put some diverse thoughts on there. Okay, let's have a look. Precious Quinty, the crux of the matter is we must get this dangerous Labour Party out. Sadly, it may mean we vote for reform. Well, what I'm thinking is, my thoughts. This is my thought pattern on this. If we could build something better than reform between all the parties, SDP, UKIP, whatever Rupert and Ben are going to do, the right wing of the Tory party, the Suella Bravemans, if we could get all of these people coming together and standing together and saying, yeah, I'm going to stand with the British working class, because this is the problem. The problem is, no matter what Farage says, he doesn't want anything to do with the British working class. He doesn't want anything to do with the people that go to the United Kingdom rallies. That lot, even though the fact that, our rallies are multicultural, multiracial. They've got we've had Christian speakers, we've had Jewish speakers, we've had Muslim speakers, but he doesn't want to know. He really is not interested because he's convinced that he can do it on his own. Well, I don't think he can, and I think as time goes on and people see that it is all fur coat and no knickers, that basically it's going to be a different kettle of fish. So let's have a look at Steve Wood. Hello from an SDP member. The treatment of Lowe should see Farage resign and Reform UK disband. There are better parties to elect. The SDP UKIP are the future, not any Westminster parties. Steve, you took the words right out of my mouth there. I mean, that's exactly what I'm thinking. And okay, let's have a look at this. I'm gonna spot some of the negative ones as well. So thanks for that one, Steve. So just responding to Mel here, I think very strange how Richard Paul Danny are trying to down talk reform. Well, the reality is the scales have fallen off my eyes, and they fell off my eyes in 2019 when I was trying to put the UKIP thing together, when we got Gerard Batten in as leader. We had Tommy advising the party, and things were looking good. If Farage hadn't scuppered that project, UKIP would now be sitting in exactly the same position electorally, probably strong. In fact, I would actually go as far as to say, if UKIP had have not been sabotaged, and I believe Farage sabotaged it, if UKIP hadn't been sabotaged in 2018, 2019, we would now have a party that is challenging the elite and challenging the uni party. So there's nothing strange about what I'm saying. It's just observation over doing activism for the last 8 years or whatever it is. Farage cheats at working class at his own rallies. Yeah. I mean that's the reality is that I know people. I think of Paz. What's his Paz 69? Is it the army guy? Mohammed, reform owner and chairman, the great savior of the. Yeah, exactly. Well, that says everything you need to know as well, doesn't it? There's no right wing of the Tory party. Clearly, their haters just like. Well, do you know what, Jack? That's a possible pass. Thanks, Jack. Pass 49. Thanks. See, this is why live streams are important, because it means that you guys are there to keep me right. Tommy advising the party, the guys been done for mortgage fraud. How easily will that make it for the opposition to pick for? Well, listen, here's the thing about that. In 2018, 2019, he was advising on prison reform because he'd just been in a prison that was completely stacked full of a certain demographic that were quite happy to do him some very, very real harm and damage. And hi, Claire, good to see you. Okay, everyone signed the pledge now, folks. Yes, Martin, that's absolutely right. I think the pledge is going to become more and more important. And again, I'm going to just pop this in the comments because we've got. Let me just pledge. Sorry, pledge. Let's put on the screen for a bit. .org.uk. There we go. Okay. Yeah, Martin's absolutely right. Everybody does need to sign the pledge, because I'll be honest with you, right? And no disrespect to any politicians, but Rupert's letter was very telling. It's very, very difficult to trust individual people and individual politicians, because you don't fully know what their agenda is until they've signed up to a set of principles. Once they've signed up to those principles, that are basically dealing with things like net zero, dealing with the grooming gangs. Remember, the pledge was written over a period of years, and the reality is that they're dealing with all the issues that are hot button issues now: immigration, grooming, net zero. That's what we were talking about, and we've been talking about those things for many, many years. Freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and these are the things that are going to become massive hot button issues. And if you don't think they are now, they will be. They will be. Yeah, UKIP has the plan. This is the whole point, and this is what I'm saying. Obviously, I'm invested in both projects. I'm invested in the pledge. I'm invested in UKIP, and I believe that the other parties, the SDP, Ben and Rupert, everybody needs to find some way of getting together in a room and having a chat. Now that's above my pay grade. That's way above my pay grade. I'm not in a position to influence things too heavily, but I think the plan is a good plan, and it's basically this. It's the whole idea that I've been talking about: faith, family, flag. So you sort your faith out. You do as much as you can to sort your family out. Sometimes, family's family. You can't always make everything perfect in families, but you put as much effort into all those things: faith, family, and then flag. And the mechanism there to win this, if we're all coming from a very, very grounded base where we are basically, we know what we believe, we know why we believe it, we're moving not out of bitterness or anger or disrespect of other people, but out of a genuine love for our country and love for our neighbor, which is where the faith comes in. And then we're well aware of the dangers to our family, so we're caring for our family, we're caring about our family, and then we take that into the political realm. It's going to be totally different to the sort of very angry, febrile, street level politics that things could descend into. And that's my point. And with the pledge, with UKIP, with the SDP, with what Ben and Rupert are doing, and again, I don't know whether we can trust anyone in the Tory party, like that commenter said earlier. I'm very cynical about them. Let's have a look. Have you seen what Nigel said about Rupert and Ben the other day when he called us? Yeah, absolutely. And this is the thing, so, man, I think, sorry, there's one I was trying to put on the screen there. UKIP demo this Saturday, 1 p.m, Cenotaph, Bristol. There you go, guys. If you're in the southwest, get to that. No doubt Nick will be there, doing what Nick does best at those demos, and causing a bit of controlled chaos. Okay. So look at this one. Graham, you're right. Reform are weak. Nigel and his second in command need to resign, as Nigel is the boss. If you don't like him, you're sacked. Just look at Ben, etc. Yeah, I mean, I think this is the problem. The problem is, I don't think for a minute Nigel's going to resign, and I don't know. I don't think that. I think the party's going to bluff it out because they think having Zia Useless there's a good idea for some reason. And I've said this about Zia Useless since I've seen the man. There's something inherently unlikable about him. And before anybody jumps on and says it's his religion, it's not his religion, because that's just not what's motivating me here. I don't like him because I don't trust him, because we've seen what he's done. We've seen the way he's wielded the axe to people in the party and got rid of all the good people, to be honest with you. I mean, two of the most talented, greetings. Hi, Bird. Greetings back to you. Ballot box is a joke, Bobby. It's not. If you look at what Trump's doing in America, Trump got there through the electoral process. The ballot box will be a joke if we don't all get out and vote. That's the other thing I would say to everybody. Let's make sure we're all in the electoral register. Let's make sure that we can all vote in the next election. Because if you can't vote, you don't have a say in this. It's all right complaining about what's going on in the country. What's going on in the country is going on because the politics is rotten and it's festered and it's been allowed to be rotten. But what the country needs, and I've said this many times, and Andre Walker did a great stream on this the other day, and obviously he was involved in the political process. I think he was an advisor to Cameron or the Tory party way back 2010 as a young fella, and he said, look, he says the swamp, the civil service, the quangos, the judicial system is all totally compromised by far right activists, and probably to an extent by Islamists as well now. And it's going to take a long time and a lot of effort to get these people out of power. So getting into power is one thing, but a slim majority for reform with a very low talent pool is not going to cut it. Our country needs the brightest and the best. And again, I'm a commentator. I'm not going to, I'm not a politician, even though I'm involved in politics. I'm not a sort of, I don't have the backing or the energy or the intellect to be a politician, but where I am as a commentator who's involved in politics. And to me, what we need is whoever wins this next election, if they're going to make change, they need to take on the Quangos. They need to have the Great Repeal Act that Ben's been talking about, where you repeal all this rotten legislation. A friend of mine has done a massive study. In fact, if you're on the pledge mailing list, you should have got an email a few weeks ago just outlining what the real problem is in the country in terms of the legislation that's been passed. So all that rotten legislation needs to be repealed. We need to leave a lot of bodies. We need to do what Trump did, leave the what's that? The World Health Organization, leave the ECHR. There's so much needs done. I mean, the Quangos need to be stripped. Ofcom needs to go. So many of these Quangos need to be either completely ripped to pieces. The police needs to be reformed. The military needs to be looked at. So you need a peaceful political revolution, and it's probably going to take about 10 years, to get done what we need to get done. So you get the first election is going to be to have a massive majority, so that it gives you the authority to do what needs to be done. Because again, the political system in the UK, even if we have loads of MPs, you're going to be getting hamstrung by the House of Lords. So it's going to take a long time to do what needs to be done. And there will be massive pushback from the media. There will be massive pushback from certain sections of society. The unions, the probably teachers and people in the legal system. There's going to be a lot of pushback. But my point has always been, the Reform Party do not seem to have a plan of how to do this. And I'm very worried about it. I mean, and I think we need to have the courage and the intelligence to be able to do what needs to be done. And what Reform are showing by the way they're behaving when they're shooting their own wounded is that they are not fit for purpose when it comes to that. I'm going to have a look at a few more of these comments. Reform are not perfect, but the only last chance we have at the moment. I would love to see Rupert Ben back. You see, do you know what, William? That would be great if we were dealing with honest actors. But when you look at Rupert Lowe and what Rupert Lowe's put out there today, Rupert Lowe and Ben Habib, I don't know Rupert Lowe. I've never met him. But I know Ben Habib. And I've met Ben Habib on a number of occasions. He's one of the most genuine, humble, honest men. He's a very successful businessman, same as Rupert. Fantastically successful by his own intelligence, by his own hard work. He's done extremely well. Now, that obviously doesn't make you a great politician. But I think with Ben and Rupert, it actually does, because they're the sort of people that we need running the country. I would much rather have a successful politician running the country than a sleazy human rights lawyer, or somebody that's just been a political advisor or a SPAD and has gone straight from university to the Westminster bubble. And that's what we've got in Rupert and Ben. And of course, Nigel, as much as he's a great orator, he's really part of the problem. He's part of the Westminster bubble, even though he pretends he's not. Okay. I totally agree. I mean, go and have a look at what Nick Tenconi's talking about. He's got again, my brain's frazzled at the minute, but he's got several points. Go onto the UKIP website, have a look at the points that Nick Tenconi is talking about, and you'll see that basically Nick has a plan. UKIP has a plan, and the SDP the same. William Coulston, very intelligent, very smart, very understated man, actually, and probably a very underrated man as well, but a great thinker and a great guy who's thinking very deeply about these things. And again, I know the people around Ben, Great British PAC. I know people are involved in Great British PAC. They are Rolls Royce. These are people who've had very successful business careers and lives. They've done it. They've been there, done it, worn the T-shirt. And again, they're the people that I want to back. I want to back UKIP. I want to back Ben. I want to back the SDP, bringing all these streams together. That's what I think is the way to do this. And what I think will happen if that's done, then you will like a magnet, you'll start attracting people from Reform. And I think Reform will very quickly implode. Reform is not a strong, okay, they've done very well in the council elections. Well, if all those councillors suddenly join a new political movement, then Reform are not Reform anymore, are they? So yeah, let's have a look at some more of these comments. We need orange and green party. I agree with that. I agree with that 100%. And I don't know how we do that, Martin. Sorry about that. I don't know how we do that. I don't know how we get there, but yeah, we definitely do. Nick the Terminator. Oh, don't tell him that. UKIP, Nick. I'm back in UKIP. And again, I think what we've got to realise as well, UKIP did stand candidates in the last election. Didn't do very well, but it's early days. And again, the reality is, it's like I was saying this on another feed I've done earlier on. The truth of the matter is that in its current form, UKIP is not going to win the next general election. It's not going to happen. Reform, I don't think they will either. So there does need to be this coming together. We need to get the British people so impassioned about politics and about saving the country that every single person over 18 that is British and working class is registered to vote. You know, that's what we need to see, because this is the only way that that we're going to do things. Nigel is a fox in charge of the hen house. That's exactly what we've got there. That's exactly what we've got. Let's have a look at this one. I agree. The Tories win the next election. I hope not, Bobby. I hope not, Bobby. It'll never happen. Do you know what? It can happen. It can happen. But we need to make it happen. That's the reality. It can only happen if we put our hands to the plow and get people coming together. So what's this? Looking great and more or less. Well, I'm trying. I don't know who Tung Sahar is, but I am trying to look and feel a little bit more relaxed. Yes, Jack, I totally agree. What's Jack's point? Nick Conan. Oh, yes. Oh, I love this. Look at this. Yeah. That's Nick Conan, Gerard Batten, Howard Cox, Rupert Lowes, Ben Habib, Tom Roberts, etc. Other guys with me. I totally agree. And that is doable. We can do that. Howard supports Tommy. Nick supports Tommy. Gerard supports Tommy. Rupert and Ben, they probably... I mean, I think Ben does. I mean, I know Ben has said that Tommy can join his party if he forms a party. So let's have a look at this one. Richard, if Ben and Rupert start a new party, let's all back it. We might have different opinions, but we love the UK. So let's hope a new party unites us all as our last chance. People, please save the UK. I mean, where I come from on that, Steve, is obviously, SDP, UKIP have stood through the fires, and I think out of respect, from mutual respect on all sides, there needs to be a coming together and a meeting where we say, okay, can we create a political force or a political... And again, I probably, whether I should be saying these things publicly or not, I mean, I don't know, but I think there needs to be a coming together where people can say, okay, well, what does UKIP bring to the table? What does the SDP bring to the table? What does Rupert and Ben bring to the table? How can we work together and save our country? That's my preferred option. We don't need to be sectarian in the way we do this. We need to come as one. We need to come together as one, and we need to basically we've got to do this. And I've been saying this for a long, long time. We've got to do this. Now, what do we do with reform? I think what we've got to do is hope that reform bleeds out and that the blood runs into our veins instead of into the Conservative parties. But because I don't think, I just don't think reform can survive this sort of scandal. If the police have found no case to answer, what does that say about the accusations that were made? What does it say? If our country isn't saved, unfortunately, British people have to treat. Do you know what? And that's what worries me. And I'm not. Listen. Anyone knows me. When it comes to this sort of stuff, I'm not squeamish. But the reality is, we've got to do our best to save our country, and we've got to do our best to do it politically. And that's a great one, Alex. A political force under the pledge. It's so simple. That's what I think. That's the whole point of it. And that's why I must say I just did a video there, and I'm not sure if I said it on this one, but I'm really annoyed with people that are attacking the pledge. And I'll be honest with you, I'm going to be brutally honest. If you're attacking the pledge, you're either politically opposed to us. In other words, you're either far right or far left. You're either a total wrong and who's got an agenda against it for some reason, either personal or you're working for sinister forces like, well, we all know them. Or you're just stupid. It's as simple as that. Now, if you don't like that truth, I don't really care. But the pledge is absolutely the way to go. And attacking the pledge is insane. And look, I've been involved in the pledge from the beginning. It's a friend of mine. We wrote it, then we went to a meeting with loads of thought leaders on the centre right who gave their input and opinions, and we wrote it again. And the pledge has taken a lot of effort and a lot of time and a very small team, and we funded it ourselves. We've never asked for a penny off people. At some point we might have to, but we haven't so far. And it has done very well. We've got tens of thousands of people, emails signed up, and I'm going to send an email out in probably the next couple of weeks explaining exactly what the pledge is again, so that people understand what we're trying to do with it, because I think that's really important. Again, what we haven't done, we haven't bugged people with emails. So somebody said the other week, oh, we haven't had many emails off the pledge. We've sent a few out, but what we're not doing is we don't want to be harassing people and sending them emails every week. So anyway, that's the pledge. I mean, the pledge is absolutely vital, in my opinion, to saving the UK. And because it calls the politicians to account, and it's the people's pledge. It's for the people. It's by the people. I can guarantee you that almost everybody on this stream right now, if you went onto the pledge.org.uk, you would go, yes, I support every single one of those principles and I want to sign up to it. So let's see how it goes. Like I say, I will be sending an email out in the next few weeks just explaining exactly what the pledge is about again. And share it. We need to share the pledge. The pledge, we need to get it up to about 1 million people signed up. And if we do that, it's going to be a massive impact. Even as it is now, with tens of thousands of people, it can still make a difference in marginal constituencies. It can still bring pressure to bear and bring power to bear. But it's, to me, the pledge sits above politics. I've always said this: the pledge sits above it, and the political parties sit below the pledge, because the pledge is the ideology, and it's based on British culture, Christian culture, common sense. Yeah, and again, thanks very much for that, Shorty. Yeah. What will reform do for mental health, NHS run councils? I never see anything from them. But yeah, well, this is the whole point. This is the whole point. This is why we need a very broad ranging team in reform. I mean, stopping the boats does not save the country. That's the truth. There's a lot more needs done. We need to deal with the financial situation in the country. We need all sorts of stuff. So yeah, any news on Tommy getting out after the film's deleted? Not yet. I'll let you know as soon as I hear anything. I'll let you know. I haven't heard anything about this. Very concerned. Tommy has not been released. What are they planning? Tommy, yeah. The reality is, I don't know what's happening with Tommy. I spoke to Ricky Doolan last week, and Ricky had been to visit Tommy, and he said he had a very long conversation with him about faith. He said Tommy was very, very strong mentally, very positive. He's got big plans for when he comes out. But again, I would have thought there would have been leverage there when the film was taken down, that they would have been getting a release date pretty soon for him. So I don't know what's going on. We'll find out. We'll find out soon. What they've done to our... I totally agree with that. I totally agree. I mean, when you look at what's happening in the country, it is really, really frightening. I agree with that one as well. I think Tommy should take some time out. He should take some time to be with his family. And I also agree with this one. He shouldn't be in prison. And every Friday night, I go down to we do a a demonstration outside a migrant hotel in my town, and we take a Free Tommy banner with us, and we call it Free Tommy Friday now. And you know, we're not against the people in the hotel, but we don't know who they are. We want to know who they are. We want to know what they're doing here and why they came. Okay, look. Paz has just put up a video yet to watch. Okay, we'll have to look at that one. Well, guys, listen. Let's see this as a positive thing. What's happened? Let's see this as a positive. The fact that basically the police have said that there's no case to answer in the case that Zia Useless put against. Sorry, guys, do you know what I'm doing? I'm multitasking, and all women watching this will know that men are absolutely rubbish at multitasking. So just bear with me. I'm just going to drop in my Counter Media YouTube channel here, because what I want you to do, guys, I want everybody, if you're watching this on my personal channel or any of the other channels or wherever you're watching it, if you could dive over to Counter Media, because what I want to do is I want to use Counter Media. I want Counter Media to basically be the go-to YouTube page for watching my content. I'm still going to put stuff on my own personal page, but with Counter Media, what I really want to do is let me just do something here. So I'm just going to try and get this up. Where we are, Counter Media. Okay. So is it on the screen yet? Oh, there we go. Okay. So let's get that on screen. So guys, what I want you to do, I want you to go to this this page on YouTube, Counter Media, because that's what I'm gonna be pushing a lot of my content out on. So at the minute, I think I've got about 43,000 people subscribed on the Richard Inman channel. If any of you guys watch me on Paul Thorpe when I was doing the lives with him, please go across to Counter Media, because what I'm going to try and do with that is build a very, very strong media channel. It's very positive. Yes, we're going to talk about all the serious issues, but we're going to try and come at them with a very positive attitude, with a very faith-based attitude, and really find ways to encourage people. Because I know one of the things that happened whenever obviously Paul took a step back from doing the lives, there was a lot of people messaging us saying, we're really desperate. You were giving us hope. You were helping us be positive about what was happening. Well, that's what I'm going to try and do with Counter Media. And I'll you know, again, it's going to take time. It's going to take effort. I mean, you know, this is why I laugh about people accusing Paul of grifting. Paul Thorpe was at this 18 hours a day. I mean, and he didn't have to be, because he's, you know, Paul's basically had a stellar career in different sectors, but he was at this full on, working really, really hard. And all people could do was say, he's a grifter, right? Absolutely scandalous. Now, again, that was a minority that were saying that. It wasn't the majority of people. It was a small minority were attacking him. But Paul, as far as I can see, Paul's attitude is, why should I take that garbage from people when all I'm trying to do is help? Because he was getting a few quid from YouTube. Well, there's loads of people getting money from YouTube that aren't doing anything to help the country whatsoever. The content is absolutely dreadful and it's a waste of time. So go and attack them, but don't attack someone who's actually trying to save the country and call them a grifter. So anyway, that's my little beef about Paul. Bobby, you're right. Bobby Crush, Paul has done great work. He has done great work, and I believe he will be back. I hope so. Now, again, I haven't got any inside information on that, but when it comes to Paul, I know he's passionate about this stuff, and it must be killing him not talking about it, right? So I believe Paul will be back, and I'll maybe see if he'll come on my channel instead of going on his channel. Get him on my channel. Danny's slightly different, because Danny got really, really, you know, what happened to Danny with the arrest, not the arrest, being detained by counter-terrorism officers when he'd never been in trouble with the police in his life, has really, really upset him. And he's got to look after his family and got to look after his own mental health. So, you know, if he doesn't want to come back, I think people have got to respect that. But let's say what has happened in the last few months has been a deliberate and concerted effort to strengthen reform, which I believe is wrong under its current leadership, and to destroy the Unite the Kingdom movement. And it hasn't succeeded, because I'm still here. Paul might not be vocal at the minute, but Paul's still here. So let's just wait and see what happens. But But yeah, guys, if you could subscribe to Counter Media, if you go onto YouTube, just type in Counter Media, and if you see that logo and you see that masthead, then you know you've got the right place. Because like with YouTube, there's always loads of channels called the same things. But so it's Counter Media. I think the actual, what's the domain? I had the domain there a minute ago, didn't I? Let me just see if I can, find that again. The other thing, a few people were asking about the song "The Men of England." Just let me know if you've actually watched that, guys. Just let me know in the comments if you've watched the Men of England song, or listen to the song, because again, that's gone a little bit viral, which is great. And a lot of people are asking where you can get it from. Now, I wrote the song, and I did the music using an AI tool. I'm going to be, total disclosure there, but it did a really good job. And so you can get that on this channel as well. It is up there. I think I put it under one of the football lads banners, but yeah, but let me know what you think of that. I think Richard Lowes says stage plan. It seems far more robust than anything. Paul or Richard has all those. Maybe he's. I don't know. I don't know who Richard Dawson is. Sorry about that. Yes, Richard. Okay, thanks. Yeah, guys, just if you get across onto that Counter Media channel and just sign up to it, and just again have a look through the content. I'm going to be putting quite a lot of music there. I mean, one of the things I found, we always talk about the negative points of AI, but I've always been fairly good at speaking and writing and verbalizing what I think, but I'm terrible at music. I can't sing a note. I can't play a musical instrument. And what AI has allowed me to do is have a musical voice now as well. So yeah, I'm going to be producing more musical content as well. Some of it will probably not be great. Some of it will be, like the Men of England, which I think was fantastic. But yeah, guys, everyone that's subbing, thanks for that. And again, do me a favor, share these live streams with your friends, because what we need to do is let people know that we're not far right headbangers, that we're sensible, and that we can basically, we've got a plan, and we've got a good plan. And I think our plan will definitely work. And it's about bringing everybody together. And again, there's been a lot of sinister players have deliberately tried to drive us all apart. And I think what we've got to do is basically make sure that we don't allow them to do that, and that we continue to fight this fight, and we continue to do what we're doing. But it's very interesting. I think what Rupert's done today, is going to, he's had the missile strike on metaphorically, may I say. He's had the guided missile strike on Reform HQ, and it's now down to seeing what the public do and what the public make of it. And yes, free Tommy Robinson. Tommy needs to be free now. He shouldn't still be in prison. He's done what they wanted him to do, and it's definitely time for him to get out. Guys, share these videos. Do me a favor, if you've got the Men of England video, share that as well, because I'd love to see that. I think it's probably up about 500,000 views on all the different platforms it's gone out on, but it'd be great to see a lot more, because I know a lot of people are sharing it individually. I mean, I think on my platforms it's over 100,000. So yeah, let's get it pushed out as widely as we possibly can. And the other thing is, obviously, there's this UKIP thing on Saturday in Bristol. There's a demo in Belfast on Saturday. I'm not sure what time it is. It's at City Hall though, and I'll do a video on that before it happens. So yeah, we need to get as many people at these on the street as we possibly can. And I think localization is the way to go. I mean, if you're in Bristol, go to the Bristol one. If you're in Belfast, go to the Belfast one. If you're in London on the 28th of June, go to the Football Lads one in London. In fact, I think it would be great if all the football firms from around the country could get to that one, because it's about the grooming, and this needs to be talked about. The grooming gangs, and the people that have been involved in covering up, they've literally got away with murder. And this independent inquiry, why has that not happened? And I think, again, it was Rupert that's had the idea of actually doing an inquiry, and he's been raising money for that. So I don't know how far they've got with that, but that's another thing that needs to be looked at. Yeah, well, do you know what? I am Bob and Spartacus. That's the whole thing about it, isn't it? I mean, we all need to be Tommy. We all need to be Tommy, and everyone should be talking to their MPs. I've had face-to-face discussion with my MP about Tommy, and he has, to be fair. I mean, he's written to the prison, and he's written to the prison governor, and the pressure needs to stay there. And again, this is something Reform should be doing. Reform should be backing Tommy Robinson and calling for his release. Calling for his release. Yeah, I agree with that. Comment was deleted. What comment's been deleted? I haven't deleted anything, guys. Let's have a look. Farage should show me who he is. I think he's involved in Tommy's cruel imprisonment. Well, I don't know whether he's involved in imprisonment, but he's certainly not helping. That's for sure. You know, and it's all look. It's all about saving our country. I don't care about the personalities. If it doesn't matter who's in number 10 as long as they're going to save the country. But I just don't believe Farage is the person to do that. And I believe Rupert and Ben and people like them are the ones that could do it. And again, you've got to understand there's a lot of good people around them. There's a lot of good people around UKIP. So let's see what happens, guys. I'm going to dive off because I wasn't expecting to do this live stream, but I just think that story breaking this morning is absolutely massive, and we've got to push for an alternative to Reform because they're not fit for purpose. See you all soon. Oh, sorry, just before I go, let's unite patriots. Let's save the UK together. All parties come together or be gone. We have no time for division. I agree 100%. Sammy Woodhouse, agreeing with us. Yeah, support Sammy. Sammy's great. She's been doing some really good work. There's a song right now. What's about Bob? Reform Farage. Okay, see you again. Farage isn't going to save Tommy. He doesn't even like Tommy. Okay, guys, listen, I'm going to go. See you all soon. Take it easy.